And we are live. Buenas tardes. Soy Doctora Lulu, or I can also say Me llamo Doctora Lulu. Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Lulu, coming at y'all again on a beautiful Wednesday evening with Queer Wednesday Wisdom, the show where I talk about myths, mistakes, and misconceptions about the queer community that you have about your coworkers at work. Yes, so many words, right? So in essence, we're discussing myths, mistakes, and misconceptions about the queer community that you might have about your queer coworkers. Because we know you have them. We know you have them. So just don't even try to front, okay? Now let me see if I'm live on. Oh, I am live. Okay, I wanted to make sure. Hi. If you can hear me, type in the comment section, say I can hear you, and let's get started. So, last week y'all had homework. Okay, let's see what your homework was last week. So, last week's homework was to find gender nonconformers that you might have and have a conversation with them. Just anything at all. You were allowed to pick anything in the world to talk about. You just had to come up with it. But as long as you're talking to a gender nonconformer, I was happy with it. So if you did your homework, type it in the comment section. Don't be shy. All right. So, and then last week we talked about three more misconceptions, your pronouns, how people think that they them pronouns or z zer or whatever pronouns that people have can be kind of weird, and how they almost argue with you about your gender. I know, right? And then the difference between gender and sexuality, we talked about that last week. This week is going to be new. We're going to talk about um transition 101. Actually, that was what we said yesterday. So transitioning or transition 101 is today's topic. So let's get jiggy with it. My name is Dr. Lulu, aka the Momatrician. My pronouns are she, her, hers, as you can see there on my name plate. I am a board certified pediatrician. I am a mom of a transgender daughter. I am also a speaker and a four-time best-selling author, five-time. Supposed to bring my books to show you all again today. I will do that if I can find them. Four-time best-selling author. Where did I put those books? They were actually like somewhere really close. Oh my God. But I got one of them here, so I can show you that one. Four-time best-selling author of How to Teach Your Children About Racism, A Teen's Life, The World Women Project, and How to Raise Well-Rounded Children. And soon to be fifth best-selling author of Invited In, How to Become the Parent Your LGBTQ plus child needs. So help me God. So that's what we're talking about today. What we're talking about today is transitioning 101, and I'm going live on LinkedIn as well as live on YouTube. And you know what? I just had an idea. Why don't I also go live on TikTok? Yes. Okay, give me a minute. Okay, let me do that. Because I can. Yes, let's do that. Let's go live on TikTok. Okay, so bear with me, all of y'all. Okay. So queer. Don't you just love it when your own camera tries to correct you? Queer. Your phone, sorry, Wednesday. Wisdom. The show where we talk about all things queer, but in this case, we're talking about how you interact with your coworkers. So there is TikTok on my left. Hi everyone on TikTok. What's going on? So we're gonna keep going, okay? The show today is called Queer Wednesday Wisdom, and we're talking about how you make mistakes about your coworkers. all the myths and all the misconceptions that you make about your coworkers. We're going to talk about them today. So, if you're ready, come go with me. So, I am a life coach and I work specifically with parents of LGBTQ plus kids as their life coach. I help them according to how they present with self acceptance and affirmation of their kids. Usually, the number one reason why a parent will not accept their child who is queer is that the parent themselves do not accept themselves as parents of queer kids, if that makes any sense. So the biggest struggle is that with yourself, struggling with accepting yourself. So I help them along their self-acceptance journey, but also a byproduct of that is affirmation of their kids. And as you and I know, if you can just get past that fear of the unknown, you'll be okay. It's so hard though, it's so difficult. Today I was talking to one of my clients and we were chatting on text, and she was having a hard time achieving her goals that she set for herself 2 weeks ago. So I told her, I said, you know what, sis, it's truly not always about the set goal, right? It's about the obstacles you encounter along the way. So let's chit chat tomorrow so we can figure out what are these obstacles. And right away she was like, oh my God, you're so right. Of course I'm right. So let's talk about transitioning 101, shall we? Now, as a mother of a transgender child, I'm going to tell you right now that I don't have all the answers, and I have not, my own child will tell you that I've not been the most supportive parent out there. Okay. A lot of times I've messed up. A lot of things that I should have done, I did not do. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I am the best parent known to man. No, I have had a lot of mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes, but I want to guide you so that you don't make the same mistakes, one, and then two, so that your child will have a chance to succeed and to thrive. So that's my job, okay? Why am I talking to people at work? Because this show is primarily aired on LinkedIn, where workers are. And because there are lots of mistakes and misconceptions that we have about the queer community. And if you don't know something, you're more apt to make a mistake. And if you know the wrong thing about said thing, you're still going to make a mistake. So I'm talking to mostly LinkedIn, but today we're going live also on TikTok. Hi, Winter LGBT. Welcome. We're here to talk about the myths, mistakes, and misconceptions that you might have about your co-workers who are queer. And so the topic today is transitioning 101. Okay, so the first thing about transitioning 101 is not everybody wants to transition. Big surprise, right? Not everyone wants to transition. Let me write that down. Not everyone, or you can write that down. Not everyone wants to transition. Some people don't. Some people are very, very okay where they are. They just know in their hearts and in their minds that they're non-binary or that they're transgender and they don't want to transition for whatever reasons. Maybe they're too old to them. Maybe they just feel like it's going to be too confusing for other people. Maybe they just don't want it. They just couldn't. Maybe they can't afford it. Maybe they just can't. They don't want to be bothered. Maybe they don't even want to invite anybody else into their world. They just want to know that they're transgender and just stay with it. On my podcast called The Pride Corner, which you can find across all platforms where podcasts are listened to or streamed, you will hear some of my clients, some of my previous guests who will tell you, or who are telling me that they knew that they were such and such, and they just decided they're not going to tell anybody about it. So a lot of people are transgender, but they don't want to tell anyone. So the first rule about transitioning is not everybody wants to transition, and that's okay. For real. Not everybody wants to transition, and that's very, very okay. All right? I'm going to drink some water. R isn't here. Welcome to the party. Not everyone wants to transition. A lot of people want to just stay where they are. They don't want to transition. The next thing about transitioning is, so the first thing is that not everybody wants to transition. The second thing about transitioning 101 is the medical transitioning. Now, let's talk about that a lot because that's the one, well, that's not the main one, but that's one of the big ones out there. That's one of the big reasons why the Texas governor is agitating and while I am agitating back at him and his little croonies. Okay. Hi, Kenny Manson. So, um, the medical transition, let's talk about pre-pubertal. We're going to break it down into pre-pubertal, pubertal, and post-pubertal. So I'm obviously post-pubertal, right? I'm in my 50s. Pre-pubertal is a 6-year-old child or a 4-year-old child, okay, or a 7-year-old child or whatever 9-year-old child maybe who hasn't started going through puberty yet. Excuse me. Every time I drink water, I start coughing. So pre-pubertal kids are kids who have not gone through puberty yet. Excuse me. Oh boy. Let me drink some water. Yeah. Sorry. So pre-pubertal kids are kids who have not gone through puberty yet, as are yet not become pubertal. They are pre-pubertal. We don't do anything with these kids. If the child knows that they're binary or knows that they're transgender, we do not do anything medical with these kids. We just observe and watch. We believe and support. We affirm and accept, but we don't do anything. Okay, so we observe, we watch, we affirm, we accept, we support, right? And what's the other thing I said? I don't know the other thing. So we do all of those things from a distance. Okay, we don't do any kind of medication. Now, once the child becomes pubertal, here's the thing about puberty. All the secondary characteristics that occur during puberty are all irreversible. So write that down in your notebooks. They are all irreversible. So that means they cannot be reversed once they start happening. That is very, 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 very critical, because a lot of the reasons why we give puberty blockers is because of puberty onset. I'm breaking it down as soft and as easy as I can. Puberty blockers because of puberty onset. We give puberty blockers because of puberty onset. Once puberty sets in, we give puberty blockers because physiologic changes in your body, aka breasts, Adam's apple, deepening of voices, broadening of shoulders, what's the word? I don't know, vajayjay hair, genital hair, rapid growth spurts in men, and a rounding of the buttocks, that figure 8 shape, all of the things that happen when a child becomes pubertal, none of them is reversible once they start happening. And so your child's doctor, in addition with you and the child and the therapist and all the people that it takes to raise that child in that medical village, will come together and decide that this child is transgender. If they want to get transitioning, then we need to, hey girl, wow, we need to stop the puberty from progressing, because the problem with puberty, once it sets in, now we got a problem. You cannot reverse it once it sets in. That is the only time, and that's one of the reasons why we start giving puberty blockers. So again, a lot of people do not understand this. They don't know what they don't know, and they just stick to the streets and start talking junk. So if your child is pre-pubertal, we don't do anything. We just watch the child. We observe, we support, we watch, we affirm, we accept, right? And we just keep watching. We don't do anything else. Now, that said, when the child starts going through puberty, once they start going through puberty, the pubertal changes are irreversible. You cannot have breasts that are growing normally and suddenly start growing back on their own. No. You cannot have a figure of 8. You cannot have an Adam's apple. You can't have a rapid growth spurt to be 6'4". You can't have facial hair in men. You can't have all those secondary characters. They're not going to reverse themselves back. So once they happen, that's it, which is why we now decide to give the child puberty blockers to prevent puberty from continuing once it starts setting in. That's one. And then number two, all the effects of hormones are reversible. I'm taking my time to break this really down for y'all so that after today's lesson, you will not ever say, I don't understand, or, what is the deal with the transitioning, or all the doctors want is just to give the kids medicine, or nobody's doing this and nobody's doing that. Truly, let me put counseling here. When the child knows that they're transgender, we just really start therapy with the parents, with the child. We start supporting them, affirming them, accepting them, observing them, watching until they hit puberty. Then we give puberty blockers. Okay, so I'm done with that. I don't want to kill that, beat that horse anymore. And then remember that the medicines, these puberty blockers, these hormones that we give to the kids, once you stop it, the effects are reversed. Once you stop it, the effects are reversed. So really you have nothing to lose by holding off until the child is either one, ready to do the rest of the transitioning, or two, ready to progress. I mean, that's really the two options. If the child changes their mind, you stop the medicine and everything goes back to normal. That's what I'm trying to say, why most people don't know that. Said what I said. Thank you for the likes. The third thing is post-pubertal. So the child is now 18 or 19 or 22 or whatever age, or 53 like me, and they want to go through transition. Remember we said the first thing about transitioning 101 is that enough people who are transgender do not want to transition. For those who want to transition, there are 4 things. Okay. The first one is medical transitioning. The second one is surgical. The third one is legal, and the fourth one is hold on. Medical, surgical, legal, and social. Yes. I can't even read my own handwriting. Okay, madam, you need to read your own handwriting. Okay. So social, okay? So we're talking about medical now because that's the biggest reason why all of these people passing all these anti-trans laws and all these things is because of the medical transitioning bit of this thing. So we're spending more time on medical transitioning so that you learn it, and you learn it for sure. Okay, let me see. So when you get to post-pubertal, now the child is already in their late teens, or maybe a more mature child might be in their mid-teens, just depends on the counseling and all the stuff that, your parents and you and your counselor and your therapist and everybody have decided what age they want to now go into the hormone replacement. So the 2 kinds of medications that we give under the pubertal are number 1, puberty blockers, and then hormone replacement. Okay, so puberty blockers and then hormone replacement. Now, under the hormone replacement, now we're now talking about if it's a child who was assigned male at birth, there's a trans woman, we now give estrogens and all the other stuff. No, I'm not going to go into details about that because that's irrelevant to this talk. Okay, if it's a child who was assigned female at birth, they're not going to get testosterone. Now, there's always ongoing therapy. Always ongoing therapy. My own child is always ongoing, always has ongoing therapy. Okay? There's always ongoing therapy. When we're doing all of these things, the therapy is always ongoing. We're never at any point in time leaving the child without a therapist, a counselor, and even the family too, because it does a lot on their parents. People don't realize this. It does a lot. Okay. So then we now come to social transitioning. So social transitioning is actually the one that most people see. Is the one that most people do. Is the one that most people are aware of. Okay? So if you're just joining us, this talk is about Transitioning 101. The show is called Qweer Wednesday Wisdom. My name is Dr. Lulu, aka the Momatrician. I'm talking to you about myths, mistakes, and misconceptions that your co-workers make about you if you're queer, or that you are making about your queer co-workers if you're not queer. Period. Okay? So today's topic is Transitioning 101, and that's what we're talking about. And right now we're talking about hormone replacement. We're talking about social transitioning. We just finished medical. So social transitioning is the one that you see the most. People have a different haircut or they grow out their hair depending on what they now identify with or what they identify with as now. They grow out their hair. If it's transgender women, they grow out their hair. If it's trans men, they might get a haircut. They might wear a binder if they're trans men to flatten the chest out a little bit. They might change their names. They probably will change their pronouns. They might not change their names, but they will change their pronouns. Some people have names that are kind of unisex. They might not change their names, but they will definitely change their pronouns. Okay. Hey, Matt. How are you? I am doing my Qweer Wednesday Wisdom, Matt. Welcome to the party. We're talking about Transitioning 101. Okay. So they might wear binders if they're trans men. They might change their behavior, or they might get behavior counseling in the sense that they actually go to people who specialize in teaching you how to behave like this particular gender. So that's part of social transitioning. Okay, if you did not know that, I just learned that recently. I was like, wow, you learn something new every day. You can actually go to somebody to help you learn how to act more in conformity with this particular gender. Okay, so I like that. I learned something new. Okay, it might be their dressing. They might just decide to start dressing more in conformity with the gender that they now identify with. All of those things are all part of social transitioning. Okay. Then we get to surgical transitioning, which is probably the more dramatic one, right? I have breasts today and I don't have breasts tomorrow. Something as subtle as that, but has a huge, huge impact on the life of a trans man. You can only imagine someone who really feels like they're a man inside, walking down the street with breasts. So that's one of the huge, tiny little thing, but huge impact in obviously ultimately affecting their gender dysphoria if they have gender dysphoria symptoms. And so if you're a co-worker, I'm asking you to be sensitive. If they're going to have surgery, be sensitive. Watch what you're talking about at the water cooler. Watch your gossiping. Watch your mindset. Watch your behavior around them. It does take a lot. Or I don't have breasts today, and the next 6 months I have breasts. Those are all things that you have to kind of get counseling and therapy on how to walk your way and work your way through. Okay? So be sensitive, dear coworker. Be sensitive, dear boss. Okay? Because it is hard. Okay. Then we have, so the things that we have surgical examples are Adam's apple getting shaved, okay, which may end up leaving a scar there. Like I have a scar from my surgery, and I'm not really self-conscious about it all the time, but I do know that I have a scar, and that's a thing for me forever and ever. So there's a scar that's going to be there as a result. So think about that. Don't ask questions. Don't get all crazy with your questions. if you know it's going to be sensitive, if your brain tells you this is going to be a sensitive question, it is a sensitive question. Like just know immediately that it is a sensitive question. Okay, one, and then two, breasts. Like I talked about, I already talked about breasts. I talked about Adam's apple, or the buttocks. They might need to get implants. They might need to get in the surgical, fat redistribution. You know, all of these things are going to cause them to be self-conscious already. They have to start wearing the other gender's clothes. Be nice to them, okay? Be nice to them. When my eldest was having her 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 final recital, she wore a blouse that she really really liked, but she didn't know how to button the shirt, and she didn't really know how to wear it because it had the inside piece and all these things, and it was cute to just kind of see that happening. And then she sent me a text and said, "Mom, I'd really like for you to come and help me, wear my blouse because I'm having, trouble wearing the blouse." And I just thought that was so cute. So just know to be sensitive, okay? Just know to know that this is hard enough for them, and it may not be something that you want to just tease them about because they're very very self-conscious about it. Thank you so much for all the loves that I'm getting. Oh my God, thank you so much, Trimble Chaos. Yes, absolutely. So be very aware that these things they might be nothing to you. Like maybe a trans woman who wants to tie a headpiece, a headscarf. It might be awkward at the beginning. If they want to wear high heels, it might be awkward at the beginning. Things that you already take for granted, I need you to come out and be self-conscious about it and know that, and be aware of your reaction. If they come to work wearing a skirt and it's kind of weird looking, adjust it for them, adjust their crown. Don't be a source of stress for them, okay? And then other things that you can have surgery if the child is younger is genitalia. Again, I'm not going into details into any of this because that's irrelevant to the talk, but there's a bunch of things that they do surgery. Now, I do want to talk about gender affirming surgery at this point as an entity. I want to talk about that. The reason I want to talk about that, welcome, Adri Preppy Girl. I want to talk about gender affirming surgery because the truth about the matter is I had a mommy makeover after my third child. Okay. I was very athletic, very active in sports. I had the body already built, but I had loose, sagging skin. Okay. And I breastfed three boys at that time, or three children anyway, for 22 months. I did. So my breasts were down here. So I want you to know that a lot of things can be happening that are called gender affirming surgery, and the only ones that the surgeons, that the governors in Texas and other places are worried about are when it happens to transgender kids. Because if I go to have breast surgery done, my vajayjay tucked in, a buttocks lift or whatever, it's still gender affirming surgery. You don't hear them talking about that. If a man has, I don't know, mastectomy because he has gynecomastia, or any other kind of surgery that a man has to kind of, maybe to create a six-pack or whatever, all of those are gender affirming surgery. But the governors of all these states that are agitating only agitate when it happens to transgender kids. So the hypocrisy smells to the highest heavens. It's unfortunate, but that's our reality. I just wanted to take a moment to go there and talk about that for a minute, just so they know that we are aware of these things. We know all of the bullshit that they're doing, and we're not going to stand for it. Okay, so that said, the last form of transitioning at this time, based on what we know, is legal transitioning. Legal transitioning basically means that the child is going to go and change their name officially and their gender officially on a document, either their driver's license or their passports or their any kind of identification that they have at work or any other kind of identification. When they do that, that's essentially a legal transitioning. So what we've done today is we've gone through what is transitioning. Transitioning is when, well, we didn't do that, but okay, the definition of transitioning is when a person who was assigned a different gender at birth now identifies as a gender different from the one that they were assigned at birth. Okay, so whether it's a trans man or trans woman, and then that's the definition of transition. And then we're talking about the four different kinds of transitioning: social transitioning, medical transitioning, surgical transitioning, and legal transitioning. And the fact that the one that most people know of is medical. People talk about it all the time, but the truth is, enough people who are LGBT and transgender do actually not want to transition. A lot of them just want to just keep going as they're going and just ask you to affirm them and accept them as they are. So enough of them do not actually transition. Many of them do, but enough of them don't. I want you to know that. Okay. Yeah, but for those who do, there is social, whereby they change their names, their pronouns, their hair, their dressing, things like that. They go and learn how to behave according to that gender. There's medical transitioning. We talked about pubertal, prepubertal, and postpubertal medical transitioning. We talked about surgical transitioning, which is more dramatic, right? And then lastly, we talked about legal transitioning. So those are the four kinds of transitioning. So next week, Wednesday, we're going to talk again about Qweer Wednesday wisdom, I think. Except if next week, Wednesday, is the first, then we're not going to do it. So we're not going to do it next week. Repeat, we're not going to do it next week because I think next week is the first. And this time next week, I'm going to be having my summit, which brings me to that. So if you don't know yet, my name is Dr. Lulu. I'm a pediatrician and I'm a mom of a transgender young adult. And I'm having a summit next week. And yes, the summit is for parents of LGBTQ plus kids, either those who are struggling with accepting themselves as parents of queer kids, because that's really what it is, or even those who have already accepted themselves and are still struggling with understanding some things or supporting in some ways or telling family members. All of those are all in the bucket of people who need to come. If you're a family member, if you're a cousin, a nephew, a godmother, if you're a teacher, a coach, I don't know, anybody that it takes to raise a child, anybody that is in the village that it takes to raise a child, you need to come, because we're going to be talking about, on day one, we're going to talk about how to prepare your house and your heart to be accepting. Day two, we're going to talk about top 3 mistakes that parents make. And then day 3, we're going to show you 3 different places where you can get support for your child and yourself. Okay, that's all we had today. Hi, Dustin Munoz. I will see you all next week. Thank you so much for joining me. The show is called Qweer Wednesday Wisdom. It's every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central on LinkedIn and my YouTube channel, and of course, also on TikTok. Please follow me on all social media platforms. I have the same name. It's at Dr. Lulu Talk Radio. At Dr. Lulu Talk Radio. At Dr. Lulu Talk Radio. On all social media platforms, except Facebook for now. All right, so long, farewell. But before I go finally, I would like to observe 1 minute of silence in commemoration of those who we lost yesterday to a rabid dog, as far as I'm concerned. Beginning now. And so now it's 6:36, and we did that for 1 minute. So we had 1 minute of silence for those people who we lost yesterday in Uvalde, Texas. And stay tuned for my new book. It's almost ready. I'm going to keep telling you all that until it drops. And I'm going to be working on the landing page where you can go order the book, pre-order the book. So I'm excited about that as well. I will see you all later. Thank you. Bye. Yes.